and I now give the floor to the representative of Palau.
Mr. President, I deliver this statement on behalf of the 12 Pacific Small Island Developing States. We align our statement with the statements made by Samoa on behalf of the Alliance of Small Island States and Tonga on behalf of the Pacific Island Forum. And we convey our gratitude to Malta for holding this debate on sea level rise and its implications for peace and security. Climate change is no longer a novel concept in the Council's discussions. It's been discussed in various forums since 2007. Rising seas create a multitude of issues for all coastal states. However, they are an existential threat to low-lying and atoll islands throughout the Pacific. The PSIDS led on a novel resolution on climate change and security in the General Assembly, which was adopted in 2009. Rising sea levels have already flooded many of our coastlines and forced migration and displacement, and they've intruded on our water tables, creating water insecurity and affecting our ability to grow crops and live healthily. The risk of sea level rise to the Pacific Islands is such that many of us have taken severe measures to address it. In Kiribati, President Anote Tong introduced a migration with dignity strategy and purchased 5,500 acres in Fiji for supplemental food production to combat food insecurity and to provide a potential location to settle if sea level rise renders Kiribati uninhabitable. Likewise, fearing total inundation, the nation of Tuvalu has launched an initiative to upload a virtual version of their country into the metaverse as a means to preserve their country and culture. It sounds like science fiction, something we might see in a movie about some made-up disaster, but these are two real-life examples that are happening today. But extreme measures aren't only happening in SIDS. In the United States, the Biden administration is paying 3 tribal communities in Alaska and Washington that have been severely impacted by the effects of climate change $75 million to relocate to higher ground. The main difference here is that we as small island developing states don't have the fiscal space and in some cases physical landmass to take these extreme adaptation measures. However, we also want to note that our identities as Pacific Islanders are grounded in our countries. These are our homes and have been for thousands of years. Paying for relocation is not a solution that we can accept. We all need to do more to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement to limit warming to 1.5 degrees. Mr. President, we propose 4 actions that the Council might undertake to address the risks related to sea level rise. Number 1, we reiterate our call for support as it relates to our maritime zones and the need to secure them, as well as the rights and entitlements that flow from them without reduction, even in the face of rising sea levels. This position is reflected in the PIF Declaration on preserving maritime zones in the face of climate-related sea level rise, and the AOSIS Leaders Declaration, which set out our position on how the rules on maritime zones under UNCLOS must apply in the situation of climate change-related sea level rise. Number 2, we ask for support for the initiative spearheaded by Vanuatu and supported by the Pacific Islands for an advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice on the obligations of states in respect to climate change. Number 3, we reiterate our call for a special representative of the Secretary General on Climate Change and Security who would inform the future work of the Council and the Assembly. And finally, we invite the Council to come to the Pacific and see sea level rise firsthand and hear the stories of those impacted. We've said in previous debates that forced migration, displacement, food and water insecurity, and infrastructure damage are terms we often associate with war and conflict zones, but in the Pacific, it's climate change that's the root cause of these threats to peace. Mr. President, while SIDS are on the front line of this crisis, 149 out of 193 UN member states, 77% of the UN membership, are exposed to sea level rise. Currently, approximately 634 million people worldwide are at risk due to sea level rise, and a significant part of the world's population live in coastal areas. If we don't take steps to mitigate these risks, one can only imagine the enormity of the security issues we'll face. Thank you again, Mr. President, for convening this open debate. We call on Malta's leadership and all members of the Council to recognize the risks to peace and security associated with sea level rise and join with the Pacific to find meaningful, proactive, and effective solutions with urgency. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Palau for their statement. And